What's up everyone, and welcome on back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me on today's video. If you stumble across my channel and have absolutely no idea who I am, hello, my name is Monet. I am 27 years old, and here on this channel I am dedicated to getting my finances together, and I've been sharing my financial journey for the past 3 years and how I budget, save, got out of debt, and how I use the cash envelope system. So if any of that sounds like something that you would be into, then definitely be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and join the family, and hit the bell so that you will always be notified whenever I upload my next video. So within today's video, it's something I'm a little bit nervous about and excited. I am trying something new. As I shared with you guys in previous videos, I'm getting to the point where I've just been doing the same thing within my budget routine, and it's kind of making me lose motivation. So I'm trying out different things to hopefully, keep me engaged and, just keep the excitement going within my budget. So I've been working on a budget template that I've been utilizing since the start of 2024, and it's not perfect, but I think it's good enough for me to share. And I thought it would be, something exciting to try to share my May budget within my budget template that I created. So that is basically what today's video is going to be, me setting up for May. I'm excited because May is a magic month, so we will be working with a little bit more income than I typically have, which is always exciting. And I am right now focusing on saving. But if you're interested in seeing any of that and how I plan on budgeting for the month of May, then just keep on watching. All right, so hopefully at this point the setup is looking good. I am trying this out for the first time, me screen recording my screen and also recording me, so hopefully this looks good. But if you can see, this is my budget template that, again, I said I created and I've been working on. Down below within the tabs, you can see all of the months so far that I've had. I also have a savings tracker and an annual dashboard. Within today's video, I'm just gonna focus on the May budget just because, this is our first time seeing it. I'm still nervous about sharing it and I don't wanna overwhelm anybody, but I've been seeing a few videos of people sharing their budgets. And I'm a visual learner, so I really enjoy the graphs and, people working through an Excel file, sharing how they budget. So I thought, why not, I try that and see how that goes. So that is what we're going to get into today. I'll explain the template and, how it works as we input things. But basically, this is it blank. The only thing that I did already pre-fill in are any categories within the sections and their dates. But other than that, it is a blank month that we're working with. So the first thing that, I think everybody can see is up at the top. It says May, so that just signifies whatever month that we're in. And then I have these start dates here for, you to pick of whatever date works best for you. I have been sharing this budget template with my best friend just to get a second perspective of someone else looking at it. And I'm paid bi-weekly, so my paychecks always fall within the month that I'm speaking to. However, my best friend is paid on the 15th and at the end of the month. So sometimes her May budget can consist of her April 15th paycheck that she received and her May 1st paycheck, depending on how she wants to look at it and when she's going to pay her bills. So I thought this start date was, a nice addition because it can be focused on whatever dates you want your month to reflect. And if your pay schedule is not the same as mine, I still think it gives you a nice view of what to look at. So the next thing that we have here is the income source, which is highlighted. And this is just where I put my full-time income. If you have a side hustle, you can note it here. If your husband has a paycheck, you have a paycheck, anything income source related, you can go ahead and list that all here. And then you'll see throughout the template, there's a budget column and an actual column. The way I set this up is that majority of the time, if a cell is white, that means that that's something for you to type in or hard key in. And if it's gray, it has a formula in it. After the income, we have the income summary down here, which again is a formula that will basically deduct your amounts each time you fill in within either the budget column or the actual column. You'll see that reflected here. So the way I set the template up is based on 5 different categories. So we have bills, which is what I notate as any fixed bills, things that I know I'm going to have to pay every month. I have expenses listed here, which generally means my variable expenses. So things such as gas, spending, things that I change per month within my budget. Then I have savings for categories that I'm prioritizing in terms of savings. I have an investment section if you want to get into investing and putting into your Roth IRA. And then the last column over here is debt, so that then you can, have your debt monthly payments and see what you're working towards for that. So that is basically what this income summary represents. It takes the total income of all of your income sources for whatever the total is going to be, and it subtracts it based off of your bills, expenses, savings, investments, and debt. And ideally, leftover for me is going to be zero, just because I like to work with a zero-based budget. But if you're not a zero-based budget, you'll see whatever the remaining leftover amount is. So another thing just to look at before we go ahead and get started with inputting our numbers are these boxes up at the top. These are going to be pie charts or graphs that will auto-populate based off of the data that you're inputting. So you'll see that this remaining to budget is going to be the budget amount that we're working with. And each time you categorize a category for the budgeted amount, it's going to deduct from your overall total. This budget income breakdown at the end is going to be a pie chart to tell you what percent of your income went to bills, what percent of your income went to expenses, what went to savings, investments, and debt. I feel like that's a good pie chart for people that are into the 50, 30, 20 budget system, so that you can visually see how much of your income is going to savings, bills, etc. This right here is going to be a graph that will show your budget versus your actual. So if there's ever a month where you get more income than what you actualize, the graph will be higher to indicate that. If your bills are more expensive than what you thought it was going to be, the graph will be there to show you that. So this actual breakdown income over here is the same as the budget income that we just spoke about. However, this will be reflected once you input your actual data to see again how much actually went to bills, investments, savings, all of that, just so you know where your money went. And then here is the savings breakdown, which will once again give you a percentage of how much of your savings went to a certain category. So myself personally, I am focusing on saving within my home fund. So ideally, at the end of the month, I would like my home fund to be a good majority percentage of my savings that I put my money towards. And this right here notates that it's actual income. So these two graphs will not auto-populate within today's video because, as I said, it's going to be actual. But right now, we are just working with our budgeted amount. So I feel like that's a nice, explanation, overview of the report. Hopefully it's not too much, because I did get into like a deep dive where I really invested into making this report, but I still wanted to keep it simple. That's why I gave my best friend, the template to test it. And she told me it wasn't too much. But, let me know down in the comments what you think as I work through it. If you have any suggestions on how I can make it better. Like I said, I'm very nervous of sharing it. I've never done this before. I'm normally a pen and paper type of girl, but we're trying new things. So let's just go ahead and get started with actually budgeting for May. All right. So for me, I am just going to note my income source as full-time. Some people break it up paycheck by paycheck, but for the month personally, for me, I just roll up all my paychecks into one budget income source, and I'll just work through it with that. Always want to note that this is my income source after taxes, 401k, tithe, and healthcare has been taken out. So this is just the amount that I'm comfortable with sharing. And May is a magic month, so I am getting paid 3 times this month rather than 2. So the income is going to be more than what I typically receive. So looking at the month of May, overall, I am budgeting $6,528 for my full-time job. So as we see, as soon as I put in the total amount, we'll see the total reflected down here. We see the remaining to budget is our total amount that we have to allocate our funds. And also down here in this cell for leftover, if it's green, that means you still have some money left over. And if anything ever turns red, then that means you are over budgeting. Focusing first on my bills and what I plan to budget. First, we have good old rent, and that is going to be budgeted at $16.90. That is typically around what my rent is going to be. It normally varies to like $16.85, $16.87, but it normally isn't ever over $16.90. This is inclusive of my water and my sewer. However, I did get notice that my rent will be increasing. My lease is up, so my rent will be going up in a couple of months. Not too much, so I can't complain. I think it's only about $32 once I speak to my leasing agent and get everything in order. So I don't think that's too bad. All right, so the next thing that we're going to budget is going to be my internet that's due on the 15th. This is a fixed expense, so that is always $56 each month. So that is what we will budget there. And then for electricity, this has been slowly coming down each month, so I'm happy to see that, but I'm still going to budget on the higher end at $180. Last month, my bill was about $182, so I think it's going to be less this month, but I still just want to cover my bases. I'd rather be over budget than under budget. And then here we have this category notated as rollover. I normally leave this last, so basically any leftover money, sometimes I'll have $2, $3 left over to allocate, I will just put that into rollover, and that feeds into the buffer that I create within my checking account for, you know, any miscellaneous things that may come out. I know I have an Apple storage subscription that comes out and it's like $2 or $3 each month, so my buffer normally just covers that, so I just leave my rollover for that, but we'll come back to that. So as you see, as we inputted our numbers for the budget within bills, our number is going down, so we're left with $4,602 from our original $6,528. And this cute little pie chart is slowly coming to a full circle, and once it fully turns pink, then that means everything has been allocated. You'll also see that this pie chart has begun to populate. This is the budget income. As of right now, it's all just the same color because we only focused on one category. And the same is to say with this graph, but as we input more things, more information will populate. So now we can move on to expenses. Since again, this is a 3-pay month, I'm going to treat these expenses as if I'm getting paid 3 times. So basically these are going to be more than what I would typically give myself for the month. But with the magic month, you still have to be aware that these expenses, even though you're getting paid 3 times in the month, that just means you're going to get paid later for the following month, which is June. So basically, it's going to take me longer to get my June paycheck because of this magic month. So you still want to accommodate for any expenses that need to carry you through until you receive your next paycheck. So that is why I basically allocate these funds 3 times. All right, so gas, for example, I typically give myself $35 each time I get paid from my paycheck. So with that in mind, me getting 3 paychecks, that means gas is getting $105 this month. Same for spending. I normally give myself $100, so that means I'm going to budget $300. Groceries is going to be budgeted at $450. Toiletries, $150. Clothing, $60. And eating out with $120. So if we look at the total so far of how things are rolling, for my bills, that's a total of $1,926. And for my expenses, that's a total of $1,185. All right, so now we can move on to our savings section. This is a big bulk of where I want majority of my money to go. So let's go ahead and fund these. Looking at annual payments, for this month, I'm going to budget $50 to go towards that. Car maintenance is going to get $40. Car insurance will receive $80. Christmas is getting $40. Gifts will get $20. Household I budgeted at $30. Medical is budgeted at $0. We all know I feel like I have enough in that fund, so I'm not really prioritizing that. And then these last 2 are where most of the money I want to go. So for travel, I'm possibly going on a cruise sometime in the summer, so I want to set myself up to be able to pay for the cruise, for the flight, for the hotel that most likely will have to book. And I like to do excursions when I go on a cruise. So I like to just, have my bases covered. So I want to give a good amount of money towards that fund. And my travel fund was depleted from my last, travel vacation that I went on. So she needs to get rebuilt up. So with that in mind, I want to put $865 towards my travel for the month. And then after that is my home fund. This is really the main priority for my savings that I'm focusing on. So this is going to get a big chunk of it. And I want to budget $1,400 to that fund for the month. So looking at savings, that's a total of $2,525 that's going to be allocated towards that. And so far, we see we are remaining with $892 to work with. So that money, it goes away fast, but at least, it's working in places that I want it to work for me. All right, so next up we have investments, and currently I am just focusing on my Roth IRA. I just started this Roth IRA this year, so I'm trying to make sure that I get $7,000 for the max out for the year. And I have a chart or a tracker that tells me exactly each week how much I should be putting aside. So with this being a 3 paycheck month, that means it's about 6 weeks from my tracker that I should look at. So counting for 6 weeks, that means I should be putting $888 away for my Roth IRA this month, and that is what I intend to do. As for debt for myself, I am debt free, thankfully, so I do not have anything to allocate for this fund. So that means everything has been accounted for, and as we can see, I am left with $4. So I'm just going to dump that right here in my rollover column to get us completely to a zero-based budget. So as a full overview, if we look over here at the income summary, it gives you another breakdown of the totals of everything within your categories, and I want to get to a zero-based budget. If we look at our percentages in terms of how much went to each category, for this month, it's showing that bills is going to be getting about 30% of my income, expenses with 18%, investments with 13%, and savings with the majority, which is 39% if you round it up. So that works for me. That's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to, attack my savings and give it as much as I can. So it's nice to see that as a whole, my budget is doing exactly what I intended it for it to do. So when it comes to inputting for the month, that is really all I do. Hopefully that wasn't too much. I do want to, just share what I do have down below. I have an expense tracker that helps me keep track of my spending as I am, spending my money throughout the month. This expense tracker is related just to the expenses here. So my variable spending is really what I like to track. Once again, these are gray, so these are all formulas that will all just represent any expenses that you put as your categories over here. And then the drop down is also the same. It will be the same categories of whatever you choose to track within your expenses. And then over here, once you have something to input, it will be another graph to show you where exactly your money went. So at the end of the month, you're going to get a total here of, for example, for myself, how much went to spending, how much went to groceries. And if $300 is a total for groceries, and that's about 50% of my variable spending, the graph here will show you exactly that 50% of your spending was spent on groceries. So I also personally just like to see that as another perspective, just to give myself a gauge of what I'm doing with my budget. If I see that eating out is becoming more than groceries, myself personally, I will find that concerning. That will mean that I need to stop eating out so much, and maybe I need to lower that and prioritize going to the grocery stores more. So this, I feel like it's just another reflection to really show you what you're spending your money on, and that's why I've been enjoying it. I also have over here a little expense tracker remaining check-in, and this is basically meant to tell me how much I have left to spend within the same categories that I'm speaking towards. So the only thing that I input is over here in this white column, the rollover money for these categories that I did not spend as a total from the previous month. Now, I'm a person that does the rollover method. Not everybody does it. Some people spend, all of their money within that month, but I personally enjoy rolling over funds and letting it build over time if need be. So I just inputted them from how I ended in April. So basically I have $95 left in gas, $180 in spending, $85 in groceries, $15 in toiletries, $80 in clothing, and $5 in eating out. So this actual is going to increase each time you get paid. Each time I get paid, I do come in and put in how much went to gas. So let's say I put in my $35 with my first paycheck that came for gas. I will add $35, and the $35 will also auto-populate here to tell me that, hey, now you have $130 to spend for gas for the month. But again, I don't want to get too deep into that. I feel like that chart would be more helpful once I actually have stuff to put into it. But when I close out my budget for the month of May, I will share exactly what I spent my money on so that then we can see and, reflect on my budget as a total. But again, I don't want to overwhelm anybody. If you guys don't even like this, you might not even enjoy it. But I just wanted to give a brief overview of how I'm planning on possibly doing my budget from here on out. But once again, that's all I really have for today's video, you guys. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Let me know what you do if you are a digital budgeter, any tips or tricks that you have to offer. If you don't like it, just be kind within the comments. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I understand, because I was a hardcore, no digital budget person, but I'm trying to do new things. But either way, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you understood, my budget and how I'm planning on spending my money. So make sure you give the video a thumbs up and share it some love, because that really does help and support. And I just want to thank you all for being here and continuing to support me on my channel. But as for today's video, you guys, that's all I have. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you all next time in my next video. Bye, guys.